With Peterson Electric. This is the third part of that video that we're doing for the de-ice melting equipment. I wanted to show you Ohm's law and the formula here. I'm not a mathematician by any means, but I do have some basic common knowledge on field work as well as the theory behind it. So I wanted to show you an example of how we could try to figure out this system. We didn't have a lot of givens because the roofer didn't know a lot about what was going on, and the fact that the homeowner did not want to talk too much to us. So what we knew a little bit was that the house was about 8 years old, so we knew a master electrician wired it, and it wasn't too old of a system. We knew it was a square D home line, which has a decent tolerance, but sometimes they allow a little bit too much. The manufacturers, we kind of figured out what that was, and we knew it was about 8 watts a foot. Okay. We knew that the distance was 650 to 550 foot because we got on the roof for a half hour and measured it off with our wheel. We knew that our normal voltage was 240, and we knew our meter was reading around 100 to 105 volts at the worst, and then the amperage increased. The normal amperage was 30 amps on the breaker, so which would be 20% of that would be right around, my assumptions, 22 amps. The increase of amps was up to 50, and then the resistance we had not figured out yet, and the increase of resistance we did not know for normal versus what I would call failure. And then the watts was 8 per foot. So what we did is we did 650 foot times 8 ohms of resistance per foot, or 8 watts, excuse me, I messed that up. 8 watts per foot will give me roughly about 5,200 watts of total heat on this system, which is going to be what we would call a 5.2 kW. Okay, so knowing that, we come over here to an Ohm's law chart on the computer, and really all we have to work off of here is this one. To find amperage is P is 240 volt, excuse me, 5,200 watts. Divide that by 240 volts. Okay, 21.6 amps. We know that that is a normal operating amperage. It's under 30 amps. That's what it should have been doing. I never got to see that because the breaker kept popping. After we solved the 240 face-to-face fault, we could not figure out that 110 right away. Then the next thing we had to figure out is, okay, we did have an amperage at 50 amps. Okay, we knew it right here, and we know that P is 5,200. So 5,200 divided by my failure of amperage at 50, 104 volts. Yep, that was what my meter was showing. Then, if we want to look at it this way, 5,200 watts, divide that by a normal operating amperage that we already proved at 21.6 amps, 240 volts. Yes, that's right on. Okay, so that's normal voltage. So now that we know that, we could take right here 104 on the failure side, volts times 104 volts squared is 10,816. Divide that by 5,200 watts. Boom, there is our failure resistance, 2.08. So how do we know our resistance where it's not failed? Well, we're going to do E squared 240 times 240 volts, 57,600. Divide that by wattage, 5,200, or 5.2 kW, is